Hey guys, it's JD from Eastwood, and in this video we are going to be going over body filler. We're going to be taking this motorcycle fender that we showed you guys how to make in the last episode. We got a nice complex curve here, we got a couple of axes we're working with, we got highs and low spots, and we're going to show you how to apply filler to this to make it perfectly smooth and ready for primer. Alright, so first things first, do we want to reach for our body filler and start mixing this stuff up? The answer to that question is no. You want to make sure your panel, what you're working with, is already as basically smooth as you can make it. If you have big old dents, head back with the hammer and dolly, flatten those out. The thinner you can make this stuff, the better it's going to work. You can't smother this on and expect to sculpt it into shape. What you really want is a panel that has a shape and throw this on to enhance it, smooth it out, and fill out those highs and lows. Also, if you're working with a panel like this one that has been in bare metal and sitting for a couple of weeks, you want to scuff this thing up for two reasons. The first reason is you want a nice scuffed layer for the body filler to adhere to, and secondly, more importantly, you don't want to have anything underneath of this panel as far as corrosion and rust go. That's just going to ruin your body filler and finish a little bit down the line, which you definitely do not want. Now, this is looking pretty good, but our last step here is we're going to hit this with some pre-paint prep. Make sure anything that's lingering on there, like dust, finger oils, that type of stuff is off. You want to make sure you wear gloves for this step. All right, so after just one wipe, look at how dirty that rag is. You really don't want to be spreading that around, so go ahead and flip to a new spot on the rag, grab a clean rag, clean paper towel, hit this one more time. The idea is to have this as clean as possible. Wipe it off, make sure there's nothing on here, and you'll be all set. All right, so we have something that is looking pretty clean here, if not as clean as I could possibly get it. But it looks good, ready to go. At this step, I do want to touch on something, and that comes down to the order of operations here. Do you want to spray your epoxy primer first? Do you want to do your body filler first? The way that we're going to do this project, because it's so small, we're going to be completed in the next couple of days here. We're going to do our filler first, and then we're going to throw the primer down in the next episode. However, if you had something clean like this, it might make sense. If you're working on a whole car, you're not going to complete that all in a couple days. So it might make sense while you have this clean metal, lay down a layer of epoxy primer and then fill over top of that. That's going to keep your metal underneath nice and protected, perfectly clean, and then you can come back later and scuff off that primer, run down your body filler, and then you'll be good to go. But in our scenario, we're going to do the reverse, body filler, then primer. All right, so body filler, give this a little stir. There is one theme with this stuff. You don't want to have air bubbles in it, otherwise you're going to get that porous on your finish. So what we're going to do is we're going to dump a little bit of this out here. All right, so try to keep this as clean as possible. We got a brand new glove on. We have this on our mixing board. Now we need to add our hardener. Now you only need, by weight, 2% hardener for your filler. So if you have 200 grams of filler, you'd want 4 grams of hardener, 100 grams, 2 grams. What I like to do, pretty simple here. I've seen plenty of experts do it this way. Just a solid line across your body filler like that will usually do the trick. Now, there is a little bit of a temperature thing going on here. In hotter climates, this stuff will dry a little faster, and in colder climates, it'll be a little bit slower. Now, as you're mixing this stuff together, it's gonna start to change color, and once you get to an even color, you'll be good to go. And as you're mixing this, you don't wanna do anything crazy. You can see I'm scooping it up like this, and then I'm spreading it, scooping it up, spreading it like that. This is to cut down on the air bubbles introduced into the filler in the mixing. So pick it up, spread it out. We're getting somewhere here with a solid color. Pick it up, give it a little bit of a spread, pick it up, spread it out, And this is probably going to harden on us before we get the whole fender covered, but no problem. you can just rip the sheet off and go again. All right, so as we're working here, I'm just gonna do the sides first and then we'll come back later and go over the top. I'm just gonna move quickly here. No need to really rush, but you can see what I'm doing here is I'm leaving the middle built up and I'm just gonna feather the edges down into the corner. And nothing crazy pressure-wise. The thinner you can make this stuff, the better, like I said. And it's fixable. You can always sand it out. Once this is dry, come right off the table. We're gonna flip and do the other side. All right, so it's only been a couple of minutes. The can says weight 15. I like to do a little bit less than that. I like this still to be a hair wet. If I hold this up to my mic here, hear how it's giving a little bit of a stick to it. At this point, we have a little bit of work for ourselves here with this big glob on top. So I'm gonna break out the DA, some 80 grit, my little particulate filter here, and we are gonna get to work. So this is looking good. Nice and glossy body filler, just like we want to see. We're going to spread this out over the top. We're going to give this a nice contour to follow that curve. I don't care if it's a little bit thick. That DA sander makes such quick work of this stuff that just want to make sure that it's coated, and if we have to sand it down, no big deal. Quote Bob Ross, no mistakes. Just happy accidents. All right, so after some time with the DA sander and some 80 grit sandpaper, I think we are pretty close. We just need to start moving up the grades in sandpaper. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give this a little bit of a light spray of guide coat, and then I have this sort of pool noodle foam sanding block. I think that's perfect for a shape like this because it can bend around it and conform to it and leave the lows where they need to be without taking too much body filler out. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So quick note about block sanding, even when you're doing it with a pool noodle like this one, you always want to go in an X pattern like that, the crosshatch as it's referred to. That gives you a nice sort of cut in both directions, and importantly it prevents you from digging in a low spot with the sandpaper from just going back and forth like this in one direction. So that's the way to do it. All right, so after sanding off our guide coat with some 120, you can see we have some little low spots here, nothing too crazy. We're gonna hit that with another layer of light body filler. We're gonna sand that down, and then we'll be ready for some primer.
I'm going to use the sandbag to give me some height, just so I can sand the sides a little easier with the hand sanding block.
So after that coat, looking a little bit more smoother, but it's those small little build on top of each other make this as perfect as you could possibly be. That really adds to that finish at the end. So we're gonna spray some guide coat on here, hit it with some 220, check our work, make sure the guide coat doesn't reveal any extreme highs or low lows. All right, so after all of my elbow grease, I'm happy with where we're at. We have some very, very minor low spots on this piece, but no big deal. This video, though, is intended on how to use body filler. We want to show you guys how easy this stuff is to work with and how, if you've never done this before, with a little bit of practice, tiny bit of finesse, you can really get this to where you want it to be. And worst case scenario, if you mess it up, you could always sand it right back down to bare metal and start again. Now, back to those low spots here. Stay tuned. Check out the next episode. We're going to post it soon about primer. And that is going to include high build polyester primer. That's going to fill in all those sanding scratches that we have, which are also very minor, all those minor pinholes you might have, and the very minor low spots we have on this piece. So if you're interested, you're following along, go ahead and check that video out. Well, guys, that's going to do it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're giving away a MiG 180 welder at 500,000 subscribers. Also, for all the products you saw in this video today, make sure you check out the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm JD. Keep it right here at Eastwood to do the job right.